we think, wow, they have it harder than I do. And really, that's detrimental to ourselves that we're not honoring the hards we've gone through.
Yeah.
Or also, it's detrimental from the mindset of those that I like to call one uppers.
Welcome to Positive Vibes. I'm Nicki Dennis. Today's guest is someone who has walked through some of life's hardest chapters. Kidney failure at 30, over 670 nights on dialysis, a transplant, and then cancer. And came out the other side with a message that is equal parts honest and uplifting. Sarah Holtz is an 18-year educator, kidney transplant recipient, cancer survivor, keynote speaker, and the founder of Simplicity with Sarah Holtz. Her tagline is beautifully said, simplify life and elevate your joy, one tip at a time. Sarah, welcome to Positive Vibes.
Thank you for having me on today, Nikki.
You're most welcome. Now, Sarah, you were only 30 years old at the time you were a high-performing educator when your life changed suddenly with kidney failure. Can you take us back to that moment and what it felt like to have everything shift so fast?
Yes, I would love to. So it started right before summer break as an educator, and I just had this energy of, wow, something big is coming. It's not just a milestone birthday of turning 30, something
Mm.
is shifting, energy's changing. And little did I know it was going to be a medical diagnosis. And so the week after my 30th birthday, I was told that labs that I had on my 30th birthday, my kidney levels were off. So flags started going up, phone calls started going out. I had a biopsy done that summer. And between the time I had a biopsy and went to the nephrologist office, there was 2 weeks gone by. No news is good news, right?
Mm.
Well, I walk in the nephrologist office and she goes, you have stage 5 chronic kidney disease. You need to immediately get on dialysis or receive a kidney transplant. And my response back to her was, well, if I just exercise a little bit more or eat a little bit better, that'll just fix it, right? And we don't have to worry about all this. She's like, looked at me and stunned and said, no, you either need dialysis or you need a transplant. And
Mm.
being very stubborn, Holtz, being of the German background, shows that I have that German stubbornness in me. And I thought this isn't going to change my day to day teaching. I was at 3 different schools and wanted to remain normal life as usual. And
Mm.
so it wasn't until that December I finally succumbed to going on dialysis and hadn't found a donor yet, like I thought would be in my plans. And that's when I had started the venture of over 670 nights of dialysis.
Mm. So that's something, again, for us that haven't experienced anything like that. We can barely imagine what was it like. So 670 nights of dialysis. What kept you going through that and trying to keep life normal or normality of your life?
I believe it was right in that moment was just the survival mode of I got to
Mm.
keep going, I got to keep pushing through. But again, resorting back to I just want to keep life as normal as possible. I'm not going to let a disease or illness define who I am, define how my life is going to look. And I will say that was the point I was grieving the life I thought I should have. So at 30 years
Mm.
old, having to navigate doctor's appointments, nightly dialysis that I self administered was not what I thought that shift and energy change was going to be. And at that time, it was a very dark time in my life that I
Mm.
grieved the life I thought I should have lived or was going to live, and had nights of despair of I just don't pleading not to wake up the next day out of the unknown. It's not like other medical
Mm.
timelines of you get to so many treatments and you're done or here's next steps. It's the unknown of I don't know
Yeah.
if or when I'll get a transplant.
It's hard to imagine what you went through, and my heart was breaking to hear that you said, some nights you went to bed and you just didn't want to wake up the next morning. And it's that unknown. You're waiting for a kidney
Yeah.
transplant, but then on the 30th of October 2017, you received your kidney transplant. What did that day feel like, and what did it open for you?
Yeah, so I'm going to backtrack about two
Yep.
months to September 1st of 2017.
Yep.
That was a very euphoric day when my living donor, who was a stranger to me, had found out she was a match. She was
Mm.
also a teacher in a neighboring district. And through connections, she got in touch with my school district and did a kidney reveal as a surprise. So I was surrounded by all of my
Oh,
close colleagues. They had no idea what was going on. My friends and family were hiding in a closet. And so all of these people that I knew and loved came out, and she came out with a sign that said, "Will you be my kidney sister?" And I was so perplexed because I had no idea who this lady was, but she had gone through all the testing and found out she was a match, and she ended up being a stronger match than even a family member would have been. So on October 30th, waking up from surgery, I instantly didn't feel nauseous anymore. It was an instant gratification of feeling healed, even though there was a long road ahead of healing.
mm,
My nausea, my sickness, my color, my family couldn't believe it when they stepped in the room and there was red, rosy cheeks and not pale gray gauntness that had been there for so long.
yeah. That's an amazing story that someone that you didn't know donated a kidney to you. And I just, that whole story, I just had full body goosebumps all the way through. That is an amazing, amazing story. And what an amazing person to do that for someone else that she did not know. That's just to give that gift of life to someone back to, and again, although, it's a kidney, it's your quality of life that she gave back. Amazing, amazing person. So, you got your kidney, you've got over that hurdle, and then came the cancer diagnosis. Again, can hardly imagine what you're going through. How did you find the strength to face another hard chapter after everything that you've just gone through with your kidney transplant?
So at that time, it was fall of 2024. So I was approaching my 7th year anniversary. Life had gone pretty back much to normal. My
Mm,
medication was stable. I was getting to my new normal, and part of that is on anti-rejection meds. With a kidney transplant, it messes with my cognitive functioning, my language production. So having to grapple with that over the years. But lab wise, physical, things were going well, and then things weren't out of nowhere. And so I went in for a colonoscopy, and it was the day before Thanksgiving here in Oregon. The doctor was calling and calling. I finally got to my phone as I thought it was a different doctor's office, and he couldn't even get the words out as he was trying to explain what he had found. And I said, "So you mean this is cancer?" And he says, "Yes, it's lymphatic cancer." So that evening, I was in quite shock over the news, and it was cancer that was caused by my anti-rejection medication
mm,
from the kidney transplant. And the next day, waking up on Thanksgiving, I had just an overwhelming peace that I was going to be okay.
mm,
A lot of that stems from what I had just previously spoke about, grieving the life I thought I would have.
mm,
I had already walked through that grief cycle. So through this bout of illness, I had peace and grounding that things were going to be okay. And I was not in that mind space of bitter and feeling emotions of bitterness, anger, fear. It was a whole different journey with the cancer diagnosis versus the
mm.
kidney experience.
Yeah, it's that true belief, that trust, everything's going to be fine. It's amazing that you had the strength and the resilience again to feel that. But as you said, it's coming through what you went through and building that within you and embedding it within you. Yeah, amazing. So, one of the things you teach, Sarah, is honoring your hard seasons without comparing them to others. Why is that comparison, someone always has it worse, actually harmful?
Yes, it's harmful to ourselves because we're minimizing our experiences.
Mm,
And so we've all done that when someone says, "Oh, I've had cancer," or "I've had surgery," or "I've lost a loved one." We think, wow, they have it harder than I do. And really, that's
mm,
detrimental to ourselves that we're not honoring the hards we've gone through.
yeah.
Or also, it's detrimental from the mindset of those that I like to call one uppers that are like, well, you've had kidney transplant. I've had, A, B, and C happen to me. And then that
Mm,
way it's not an internal damage, it's outward external damage to that other person. And you're minimizing their hard unintentionally.
mm, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting in that world where it's like a game where, well, I've had this, well, I've had this, and it's yeah, trying to outdo where again you've got to, as you said, honor what is actually happening with you, and so you can actually work through those emotions and also that healing, and focus on that. So you talk about removing the word just from our vocabulary. That's such a small word, but is a powerful point. Can you explain why that word matters so much?
It holds so much power because, again, it's minimizing your experience or the topic you're speaking of. I caught myself doing it just the other day at the grocery store when a cashier had assumed I had a different type of cancer that required surgery. And I said, "Oh, no, no, I just had lymphatic cancer. That's all."
Mm,
And I walked away thinking it wasn't just lymphatic cancer. I still went through chemo treatments and lost my hair and
mm,
all the same emotions that any other type of cancer would go through. And so, even catching my own self of getting into that practice of getting rid of that word just, because again, it's
mm,
minimizing yourself, your experience. Or if I was to say, I'm just a respite care provider for people with autism, it's a huge job and a huge impact
mm.
making a difference, but I'm minimizing that by using the word just.
Yeah, it's hard to believe hearing you just minimized your lymphatic cancer where it was major. And when you talk about, didn't need surgery, some cancers that need surgery, that's all they need. Some of them don't even
Yeah.
need radiation or chemotherapy, but you had lymphatic cancer and you went through the whole treatment. And as you said,
Yeah.
changes to your body and image and, all the toxins that were put through you to fight it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that you minimize that. But it's so true. That word just is so powerful, and we've got to move that out of our vocabulary. So I want to you talk about honoring. What does it actually look like to honor a hard season, particularly day to day, without getting stuck in it?
Yes. So honoring your heart is recognizing that this is your hard season for you, not comparing it to others. This is your hard path. It's not harder or it's not less hard than anyone else's experiences. It's just different.
Yeah.
So, in those moments, acknowledging those emotions. So, you definitely don't want to go so far to one side where you develop a toxic positivity, but you honor those feelings of anger, sadness, grief, but you also celebrate the joy in the darkest moments. You celebrate glimmers and gratefulness for each day. So, walking through with a balance of emotions and recognizing your emotions, honoring those emotions, feeling them without giving yourself a pressured timeline, and
Mm.
then moving forward with what you have in your control. So not so feeling the emotion, but not living in the emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's really sort of just still living life and not getting stuck in that as you said. So, can you share a moment from your own life or someone you've worked with where that shift in perspective changed everything?
Yes. So the moment for myself that shift changed everything was going through my dialysis journey. And it dawned on me one night when I was hooked up to my machine for about 12 hours that night, watching videos and seeing kidney reveals. Instead of it bringing joy for me, it was bringing negative emotions of bitterness, anger. Why isn't that me? And that is not my personality. I love to celebrate others. I want to see others win. And so acknowledging that, yes, I am in a dark place right now, but then coming out the other side and seeing, turning something so dark into something so positive of not taking life, the cliche of not taking life for granted,
Mm,
enjoying each day and really cherishing what you do have.
mm. Yeah, it's a real wake-up call, isn't it? And I've always said sometimes in life we think we're living life that we've got a second chance at life, where things like, that happened to you really changes your perspective in regards to how precious life is and that we should be living life every day for, you know, the for what it is and yeah, with complete gratitude. So I love what you've called your keynote title, How to Get Through the Grit with Grace. What is
Yes.
the core message you want people to leave with?
So again, honoring their hard, honoring your emotions and not living in them,
Mm,
primarily also looking at what do you have control over
yeah,
and training your brain to look at the positive and the glimmers. The gratefulness is another anchor within my keynote, as well as I was saying, those controllables. There are things that, yes, you have control over, and there are things, no matter what you do, you can't control the outcome.
absolutely. So just on those things that we have um, control of, what are those things, even in the harder seasons, that we can come back to?
Yes. So we have control of most of our thoughts. So sometimes we do struggle with thoughts that aren't reality or we need assistance with mental health. Mine primarily, a good example would be the cancer. Everybody always asks, aren't you worried about your scans? I'm not worried about the scans or the results themselves because I do not have control if the cancer comes back. I
Mm,
have control of how I'm putting it out there, saying that I'm cancer free versus using the terminology of remission because I want to put it out there in the world that I'm cancer free. I'm not inviting this back into my life, but also the controllables of diet, exercise,
mm,
taking nutritional advice into account. Those are things I can control. I cannot control if the cancer is going to come back or not. And that leads into negative emotions such as fear.
yeah.
So I don't want to live my life in fear. I want to live by faith and peace and positivity.
Yeah, yeah, I love that whole attitude and that positivity of, and also thinking and saying the words, I am cancer free.
Yeah.
Because, again, be careful what you wish for, because when we live in those or say things or think things, they do manifest within the body. So the mind and the body are connected. So I love that you've trained yourself for that and that you're teaching others to do that as well. So you are also a vendor consultant, a respite care provider, and part of
Mhm.
the Women's Collective. You've built a full and purposeful life. What does simplicity mean to you now after everything?
Simplicity is less is more. So that is what brings peace in my life, whether it's less in a social setting, less in a business setting. I always tell my vendors at their markets, less items on your table equals more sales. So just keeping life simple is what brings you joy, happiness, and peace.
I love that. And Sarah, what's next for you? Where is Sarah Holtz headed?
Yes, the stage, the lights, meaning loving to share my keynote of how to get through the grit with grace with bigger audiences, making an impact for others, and what you had referred to earlier as the ripple effect, and
Yeah.
being able to make a difference where I have control over making a difference. And that's in local, national, international audiences of different arenas sharing my message.
I love that. I love that everything that you've been through, you're shining, and now you just want to shine for others and get that message out there. It's beautiful that you're now sharing through your lived experience and helping others to shine and support others as well that are in that space that probably, are still working through that. So it's beautiful that you're doing that for society out there, Sarah. So before we close, I just want to ask a few quick ones. Can you share a small act of kindness that has stayed with you?
Oh, wow. I feel like there's been so many, it's hard to choose. I would have to say the healthcare providers I've had that go above and beyond their roles to console, to reassure, to also walk along with positive faith that things are going to be okay. And with you being in the healthcare system within your experiences, as a healthcare provider that that's your purpose is to make a difference and make a comfort. And so that's just what comes to mind immediately with that question is some of the healthcare teams I've had are so extraordinary and they're truly there to be a comfort and not just to look at me as another medical situation.
Yeah, I love that you've recognized them and yeah, they are in it with you. I can tell you. Yeah. From experience. So, do you have a quote or a mantra that has carried you through the hard times?
Yes. So a couple of them come to mind. One of them is it's going to take me again, my recall here, it takes me a moment and it's may you, oh gosh. Okay, so let's go back to one I can't remember right off the top of
Yep.
my head is Dave Coulier, who's an actor here in the United States, was finishing up his lymphoma battle as I was beginning mine. And
Mhm.
his quote was, you can always find joy in the darkest of moments. And so going through cancer, I just kept reminding myself that I can always find joy in the darkest of moments. Um,
Love that.
but the
Amazing.
other quote that I love is that may you walk through what you never asked for with grit to rise up to what you never imagined possible with grace.
Mm. I love that. That's so
Yeah.
deep. And what come to me with that is another quote that I always say is sometimes we don't get what we want, but we get what we need. Yes.
Yes.
And that's, yeah, the whole essence of that because you'll rise up to something, yeah, with grace and something better in your life. So, in one sentence, what does positive vibes mean to you?
Positive vibes means peace and gratefulness, the outlook you have of gratitude for just existing every day.
Beautifully said, Sarah. So, where can our listeners find you, follow your journey, and book you to speak?
Yes, thank you for asking. So, a great landing spot is my website, Simplicity with Sarah Holtz. That's SarahHoltz.com. Also on Instagram at simplicity underscore with underscore Sarah underscore Holtz, or also on Facebook at Simplicity with Sarah Holtz.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of listeners reaching out to you just to,
Yes.
yeah, resonate with what you've said today, but also to get you to speak because you are a shining light.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And finally, what would you say to someone right now who's in the middle of their hard season and feels like they have no right to struggle because someone else has it worse?
Again, honoring what they're going through. You have the same emotions as someone else. It's just a different situation. No, it's not harder. It's not less hard. And I encourage acts of surrounding yourself with people that are going to cheer alongside you, journaling, making a list. One side, what do you have control over in your situation? On a side of what don't you have control over? And
Mm.
on the controllable side, what actions are you going to take for those to be able to focus on those controllables and make a difference in your day to day?
Wonderful. And Sarah, thank you. Your story is one of the most quietly powerful ones I've heard, not because of what's happened to you, but because of who you chose to become through it. You've reminded us today our hard seasons deserve to be honoured, not compared, not minimised, not rushed, and that grace is not the absence of struggle. It is how we carry ourselves through it. To everyone listening, whatever you are going through right now, it counts. You are allowed to find it hard, and you are more resilient than you know. This is Positive Vibes. Keep building a world where purpose, people, possibilities, and kindness come first. Thank you, Sarah. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now, and thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent.